I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this because now we have our hands on the new Jetour T2. Hey everybody, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and today, yes, we finally got the Jetour T2 for you. This is the standard model. I know they have the newer Terminator variant, which kind of sounds weird when you say T2 and then Terminator, but still, this is the four-wheel drive SUV that I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for. And waiting, we have been too, because this vehicle proved to be very popular from last year. A lot of people really interested in what the T2 has to offer because look at the vehicle. I mean, they don't really care that they take a lot of inspiration from the very popular Land Rover Defender. After all, Jetour is part of Chery's umbrella, and Chery is the partner of Land Rover over in China. So I don't think Land Rover is gonna complain too much if their partner is taking a bit of let's say liberal inspiration from one of their most popular models. Now the T2, it burst into the market at the Manila International Auto Show, and burst it did. A lot of people wanted to test it out because, again, the brawny looks, it just looks fantastic. With the way they do the headlights, the front grille, and the bumper, very rugged looking. But make no mistake about it, this is more crossover. You can see it with the way it sits up off the ground, the way the actual frame is underneath. It's actually not a frame, it's a monocoque crossover. But also you can tell by the bumper, this is more for style. So for example, you see these green bits there? Those aren't actually toe points, it's just really for the aesthetics. And aesthetics is what sells in this vehicle. Let's come around here, let me show you. Now, you come around the side, you can see that the vehicle does have a nice profile. It measures about 4.8 meters long, and it is quite wide. Ground clearance is around 220, but the brochure also says 180. We're a bit confused, but we think it's more on the 220 side. Now, the wheels, very nice. Again, it has that green kind of highlighter green details there with the bolts, which by the way, these are just for the style. It's not really a bead lock. And the tires also, these are more of your highway tires, not really your all-terrain or off-road tires. Side, you have here the side steps, you have the roof rack up top, actually roof rails, but what's more important is that even though it's a crossover and it does take a bit of inspiration from what Land Rover is doing, you can see that it has a 360 camera, but come closer. This right here, this is one of the sensors under there. It's for the wade sensing. Yes, this is camera, then there's a sensor under there. It's for the wade sensing system, meaning if you're crossing a flood, this will tell you on the screen just how deep that flood is up off the ground. Now, here in the back, you can see that it is very Land Rover. I mean, all it needs is the adventure box here and the ladder, and it's very much that kind of SUV, which is why it's really, really popular. Same with the way they did the back here. Now, this isn't a lift-up tailgate. This is a swing-out tailgate, which means it's robust. It's also got this square, well, not really square, it's more octagonal spare tire carrier. And believe you me, it is a spare tire carrier. But what they have here, it's a bit tough to remove the cover, so I don't want to damage it or anything. So that's something to keep in mind. In a pinch, you may have to read the manual how to open that. It does have hinges here, or at least these are fake hinges. It's just for the style. You do have the LED lights here, T2 there, and X-wheel drive, because this is not a 4x4. This is more of a real-time four-wheel drive type of vehicle. Now, when we open this, you'll see that the space of the vehicle is quite respectable overall. The lengths and the widths, we have the dimensions here. Now, I wasn't able to memorize it. I do have it in my phone, but what's interesting here, come closer. If you've been inside a Montero Sport third row before, the folding mechanism is similar, meaning you lift up the cushion and then you pull this down, giving you a nice flat load space, which is actually quite good for a vehicle like this. Makes it very versatile if you're loading cargo and you want to balance everything out with, let's say, your passenger capacity. But what we also like, here, check out this tailgate, right? And the way they do the space, like plenty of hooks, pockets and all of that. But also, it's functional. So, for example, you have hooks here, compartments up there, same with the hook here. But you have cup holders here. So if you're having a tailgate party, that's pretty cool. I mean, so they also put there, like it holds a Bluetooth speaker up to 3 kilograms. Same with the other side, also has one there. And here, check this out, bottle opener. I mean, that's really cool for a vehicle like this. We've also seen that in the Ford Bronco, which is kind of nice. But overall, they work to make the space as functional as possible to give you something that you can use for, you know, camping out. And where we are, you can really camp out. We're over here at River Ranch. So yeah, it just looks right at home here. Okay, it's starting to rain a bit more, so let's be quick. What's under the hood of the T2 is a 2-liter turbo gasoline engine. You can see it down there. It's not a diesel, it's not a hybrid. It's just a turbo gasoline engine. Power, 254 PS, and torque is at 390. The transmission is a 7-speed wet type DCT, meaning dual clutch transmission. So we'll see later how it behaves in city driving. But also it's got an all-wheel drive system. So it's not really a classic 4x4 where you have, you know, like the part-time system where you have 2 high, 4 low, that kind of thing, or diff lock. Doesn't have any of those. It has a Borg-Warner LSD to help you along, and an intelligent 4-wheel drive system. Now, that is going to be the limiting factor with the T2, because I know a lot of you guys look at this one, I want like a cheap Defender. It's not really gonna give you that. It's more of a kind of cruising, road tripping kind of vehicle with some off-road capability, not hardcore off-road capability. Keep that in mind. Even with the tires, like I showed you earlier, those are highway tires, not really when it comes to the, you know, the all-terrain type. But what's interesting here, what else can we see? I mean, heat insulation there, same for the battery as well. One thing I did notice here is that I think a cat must have been sleeping under the hood, because cats do like warm hoods, and you can see there some cat hair there. So I guess they're getting in something. Oh yeah, there it is. It's kind of an open space over there, so a cat can crawl in there, because the cats, they love the warmth of an engine bay. So that's just something to keep in mind. So do check if there's a cat under your T2 before you start it up. Also, the air cleaner is right up top. It's a big filter over there, but more importantly, it has a tube, which means the intake is right under here. And when I measured it, it was about 97 cm from the ground up to there. And the weighting they quote for this one is around, I think, 500 thereabouts, which is plenty, but it's not going to be definitely at the level of most PPVs or pickup trucks. The interior of the Jetour T2 really is impressive, because they have a lot of like off-road rugged style details, but finished in a satin kind of aluminum trim. It just looks so good. And they even have some details here, like this is some kind of, I think, map or route. I'm not sure what that is. You know what? I'll be willing to guess it's like some kind of around the world or the Silk Road or something like that. It looks different, makes you think about what it is. Now, it's interesting to look at, but it's also very functional. I mean, grab handles all around, even on the doors, even right here. Even getting in and out is very easy because of these. I mean, same with the back seat. The back seat also has those grab handles with the coat hooks as well. But one feature I really like is the fact that they don't have the sunglass holder here. They have it up here. This is very 90s in some of the Mitsubishis that I drove, and I like it. You know, I like the fact that it's up here, because you as a driver, you're not gonna grab onto here. It's really for the passenger. So to have that sunglass holder here, I think is a nice plus. Now, looking around up here as well, you can see that it does have the panoramic glass roof. You can open that, but you know, why would you right now? It's raining. The lights here, and by the way, the lights here, touch sensitive, which is pretty cool. Now the dashboard. Clearly, it's a very truck-ish dashboard, meaning it's quite upright, but it's very laden with technology. You have a screen right here in front of you, has your display for your fuel, your speed, and all that, the average fuel economy, all that stuff is like right here, typical driver display. But this screen right here, this is huge. It's the 15.6-inch touchscreen, and my oh my, there's a lot to go through here. But more on that in a bit. Now, the steering wheel, it's almost octagonal. So it's flat here, flat up there. It's very different. And if you're the type who likes to like cruise, I mean, not that you should always have it like this. But if you like to chill it out while you're driving and just do that, it's very comfortable. It's very nice. And with these power seats, it's also very nice when you relax. It's quite plush. Like the cushioning they have for these seats is very, very good. You know, like you don't see that in a lot of cars now. A lot of cars try to go for a very, a much firmer, sporty type of seat. Jetour, no, this is more for long, comfortable, long road trips. And I think they're doing a good job about how they're speccing those seats. Now, power window buttons here, lock, unlock there. Your speaker package here, these are Sony speakers. I mean, when was the last time you saw Sony? But it's nice to have a branded speaker set with your premium vehicle. Now, for storage, what do you have? Tray up top, glove compartment here, pockets on the doors. You do have the wireless charger here for my phone, which, by the way, the wireless charger of this, it's very powerful. It's 50 watts, which I think is rather cool. And then a tray here for your wallet or your keys and stuff. Cup holder here, and a big compartment here, by the way, which also has a cooler function, which is good. If you want to keep cool drinks there for your road trips, it will work out well for you. And there's also another tray under there for storage for a bag and stuff with your USB ports and your 12-volt outlet right there. But the eyes really are drawn to this massive 15.6-inch screen. It's bigger than my laptop. So what do we see around here? There's the Android Auto here, which, by the way, wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay in this vehicle, which I think is always a good thing. The response is fast and it's very stable. It hasn't dropped on me, which is always a good thing. Now, on the right side, you have here the 360 display of your car. It does have a compass and says we're facing north at 175 degrees. We're at the 270 meters above sea level. It also indicates the front wheel angle, so at least you know you're parked straight, or at least when you park and then just keep it straight, or if you're going on a course or whatever. But what's nice here is that if I turn the wheel, the camera or the 360 camera and sensor comes on. So if I turn right, that comes on, shows me, I mean, if the door was closed. But if I go left, same thing. It'll show me what's that way, so at least I can place my tires on a road with precision, especially if you're going on a tight road, that kind of thing. That's going to be very handy. And we can change the view. You want the top view in front, top view in the back. That's pretty great. You have the 2D, that's a rear camera, and then you have the front camera with the angle of the wheel. That's kind of nice. And then what else do we see here? The off-road, well, that's not off-road radiation, that's the off-road radiator, meaning like when you're going off-road, it will kind of activate the radiator fan a bit more intensely to, you know, give you more cooling. Has a hill descent control. You can disable ESP if you want to go a bit more manual, but again, this is a vehicle better left to its systems. More on that in a bit. It does have the wading radar like I showed you, and then it'll indicate it right there how deep the water is, meaning from the side mirrors, those sensors that also are also used for parking are going to be used for detecting how deep the water is off the ground. Now, before we get to that, your climate control is right here. So you have your fan speed here, you have temperature, it's dual zone here in front, just a temperature, normal stuff. Now down here, this is where a lot of the controls are with the vehicle, with the drive of the vehicle. So transmission control, pull to put it into D, pull again to go to manual mode to use the paddle shifters, push to go to reverse there, and then put it into park right there. You have some buttons here like for the camera, which is right there. You have this mode here, but it'll only activate when you're in drive. Let me put it to drive now. Let's see if it activates. Nope, it needs to be moving for that, so we'll save it for later. Defogger there, AC button there, back into park. But right here in the middle, we have Twitter. No, just kidding. This is not Twitter X, this is the X mode dial. So this basically gives you the ability to adjust how the vehicle behaves depending on the terrain or the kind of driving you want to do. So right now, so up to the screen, see, let's go to eco mode. So nice and blue, nice graphics by the way. And then you have normal mode, balanced highway driving. And then you have sport mode, so it's a bit more aggressive with the throttle response. And then you have snow mode. We won't really use that in the Philippines. Snow, ice, grass. Grass, it'll work right now, but maybe later when it's really wet. And then we have mud, sand, and deep snow and sandy soil, so that's going to be useful. And then down to rock mode, so it just gives you a bit more, it allocates the torque to where it's needed. That's really how the X mode works. And then really I just press this and then it'll just automatically select it when it's in X mode. So it depends on what the situation is, it'll just adjust to that. So if you notice, there's no diff lock in this design here, which by the way reminds me of a, you know, those Vertu phones from back in the day, reminds me of that in the color as well. But there's no diff lock, there's no manual mode when it comes to the 4x4 controls. So that's going to be something with the Jetour T2. With the rear seat, there's also plenty of space to go around. This is only a 5-seater, not a 7-seater. But still, when it comes to space, you got your AC there, charging ports, all that stuff. It makes it really great. One thing I want to note is that this demo car does have this molded plastic matting, kind of, it's like a catch-all pan that they put there. It's a bit slippery for my liking, so I'm not sure if it's an original, meaning every single one is equipped, but maybe some grip tape on it would really help to prevent slipping, because getting in and out does get a little bit slippery. Anyways, now that it's hopefully the rain calms down, let's go out for a drive and see how this T2 behaves. So let's start this review a little bit differently and share the negatives so we can get them out of the way. The first negative is kind of mababaw. They wiped Armor All and everything, so everything like feels sticky when you touch it in the vehicle. So that's something I wish they didn't do. The other thing, the brakes are okay. I mean, like I did note that the brakes seem small for a vehicle of this size, but they're doing okay. But again, I would prefer like at least larger front brakes to kind of make it more reassuring. But mind you, when it comes to braking on a road like this, again, we're on a slippery concrete road, it's not too bad at all. Actually, it's easily manageable. Now, the other one is when it comes to the, well, transmission. Now, it's a DCT, and we all know what the limitations of a DCT is. If you've driven a vehicle with a dual clutch transmission, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's when it comes to low speed driving. So here right now where it's a bit more flowing, it's not really a problem. It's only when you like get into the city and where the traffic is a bit more, and when you have to park, when you have to do the 3-point turn, low speed traffic driving. That's like kind of the Achilles heel of any DCT. I've yet to encounter a DCT that's really, really good in that, but that's just par for the course. I would still prefer an automatic, like a traditional, fluid type automatic transmission, but still, this is actually quite okay once you're out of the city, which is where we are now. The other thing, and perhaps most crucially, is going to be the fact that this isn't a 4x4. This isn't like the type that has a low range, where you have diff lock and all that. It's not going to be meant for like rock crawling, even if you modify it, let's say, or if you upgrade it with the tires, blockier mud terrain or highway terrain tires. It's not going to give you the capability you may want. And those of you who already know your 4x4, this is probably not going to be the one for you. Like those of you who are real like 4x4 enthusiasts, this is not going to be the type of SUV for you, because it doesn't have those toys. And I think a lot of people learned that during the Manila International Auto Show last year, where they tested it out and they realized there's no button for the low range. So when they tried it on that off-road simulated course, it wouldn't really work that well for them. But once we accept that fact that this was not designed to be a hardcore off-roader, then you can start to enjoy it. Like when we were on the road earlier in Tanay, or at least in Marilake, it was actually doing really well. Meaning the comfort was there, the refinement was there, even with the sound, like keeping the sound out, it was really good. Like the fact that they have the laminated glass here works well. The safety features of this one, it does, the screen does come on quite a bit when you're in traffic, but when it comes to, let's say, just driving around and enjoying yourself, this is good because the safety features are not too intrusive, so it's not too loud. It does beep, it does come on the camera, but when it comes to just driving around, you can really enjoy it. And then now we've entered a rougher road, and the T2 is managing it well. You know, we have our boys there in the PPV in front. That's a 4x4. And also the Tank 300, it's Marcos driving that. I mean, if you want a hardcore 4x4, that may be your thing, or even like the Mu X over there. But if you want to, let's say, just cruise, going to a campsite where you know the terrain is not going to be extreme. You know, you can't go with your friends and pare, oh, light trail lang, and then boom, you end up in a really hardcore trail, very slippery. Although this can handle the slippery, and I think we can try a bit of that now. Let's see, we'll try, what mode can we try out here? The sport mode is a more aggressive setting. Snow, maybe not. Maybe mud mode, the slippery mode. And you know, it's not even really required for this road because it's still pretty easy. But I think this is going to be where the T2 is going to be more at home. You know, these kinds of rough, unpaved, muddy roads, that's where this works well. But most of the time, you'll just put it in automatic, not even think about it. That, I think, is going to be the beauty with the T2. Oh, this part is particularly slippery, but not really gonna bother with it. I'm just gonna let the car do its thing and manage my speed. Anyways, back to River Ranch so we can wrap up this review of the T2. To be perfectly honest with you, the more time I spent with the T2, the more I actually enjoyed it. And that's because I was driving it on roads that it was intended to be on. Paved roads, unpaved roads, some rough terrain, but not really the serious off-road stuff. And that's something that really needs to be clarified with the T2, because some people look at it, think they can expect the same kind of capability as a Defender, when really it's more of a crossover with a real-time four-wheel drive system, not really a part-time hardcore 4x4 with the 4-low and diff lock and all that. This cannot do that, but if you try to drive it, enjoy it as it's expected to be, then it's going to be perfectly fine for you. And the price is going to be something really interesting, because this is at $2.5 million, and that's a fraction of what a Defender really costs, but you do get the style. If you want to customize it, personally, what I would do if I got one of these, I'd put in some nicer tires, particularly for all-terrain. That would really improve the capability of this. Maybe not hardcore yet, but it does give you a bonus when you're going off-road. And speaking of off-road, if you really want to go off-road, you want to check out other options in the market. One good option is the Tank 300. You see, this one, more road bias, is going to be great for the family. If you want to go off-road, that may be the option that you may want to look at. And that's really the great thing about what these new automakers coming into the Philippines is giving you. It's like a buffet. You can choose whatever you want. You have any niche, any kind of combination you want as a motorist, as a car owner, to be able to really enjoy your time on the road. Let us know, guys, in the comments below what you think of the new Jetour T2 as well as the Tank 300 and how these two compare. Not that we can really directly compare them, but still, it's nice to have them both here so we can see what each one is about. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.